welcome. Thank you for joining us today for another Thursday session talking about the MBA application. For today's topic, we're focused on deferred MBA candidates, so those seniors in college or master's students in their final year of study. Whichever platform you're joining us from, welcome. Thank you for being here. I'm really excited to share content on how you put together a strong application, and really welcome you guys to write your questions in the comments, and we'll try to answer as many of them live as possible. So for those of you who do not know me, I am Susan Berishaj, founder of C Admissions, which is a boutique coaching firm focused on supporting MBA candidates through the MBA application process, focused particularly in helping them craft their narrative and telling a genuine story that is true to who they are, but also takes into account what the business schools are looking for. I have been doing this for a couple of years, about 8 now, and I'm really excited. I always get excited to work with new people because I get to learn new stories. And so let's get started, and particularly focused on today's topic, which is the deferred candidate pool. Sorry, let me just, okay, perfect. So the agenda for today, we're going to cover what is a deferred MBA and who is it for, particularly those of you who are thinking about the deferred MBA application, meaning you may not be a senior in college this year, but are going through the process of preparing. This can be really helpful for you. We're going to talk about the deferred program and who gains admissions in these programs, the applications itself, and then of course the Q&A. I have quite a lot to cover, so I'm going to go through these slides relatively quickly because I do want to make sure that we can answer questions as well. So let's see. Okay, it works. Perfect. So what is the deferred MBA? Essentially, business schools, starting with Harvard, have created the deferred MBA candidate or application to attract students who are in their final year of college or in their master's program, in their final year of master's program, who don't have work experience, so full-time professional work experience, and may want to actually get an MBA program at some point, but at this point in time are really looking for perhaps very technical careers or careers that are not typically seen in MBA programs, and they want to use this time to really make sure that they are securing that seat and creating a career for themselves that is in alignment with who they are and what they're looking to do. So the deferred, so these business schools have created this program that essentially allows you to secure a seat in an MBA program in a coveted business school, where you get to then join maybe 2 years after your graduation at minimum and 5 years at maximum. So you have this 3-year window essentially where you can decide which year you're going to start your MBA program based on the experiences that you've had. You are required to work full-time during those 2 years, at minimum 2 years, to be eligible to actually apply or start the program. So the schools will be looking at those details and will be evaluating your eligibility in the process. Even if you are admitted in the program, that is a requirement. So what are some of the schools that have deferred MBA candidates for the external people? So what I mean by that is there are some schools that do have a deferred kind of category for students that are already undergraduates in their program, but this is open to essentially everyone. And you have about 13 different schools that offer the deferred program. The numbers will be increasing, I anticipate, but it should give you an idea of who are some of the schools on the list. So who gains admission to this program? These are individuals who are risk tolerant. So typically what it means is that students that have aspirations to stay in, I'm not sure why I got an emoji on the screen. So students who are interested in working in consulting for the next 2 to 5 years and want to do an MBA, well, those people are not really going to be that successful in the deferred program, because from the perspective of the admission team, they get those kinds of applicants that apply when they have 4 to 5 years of work experience in consulting. Business schools are really looking for those who are looking to take professional risks in this period, but don't want to jeopardize getting into an MBA program. So that's essentially who they're looking for. And they're also looking for individuals who typically don't go to get an MBA even after 4 years of work experience. So these are the engineers, the individuals who really have very technical jobs that are not necessarily attracted typically later on into the MBA program. So they're really looking to make sure that they are inviting those people in and showing the value of the business school, and of course giving them the chance to come back to the program and even after those years of work experience. So what are they looking for? They are looking for engaged community members. So this means that you are not just attending classes in your undergraduate, you are actually being involved, or you are engaged in community projects, whether that's extracurriculars through clubs, whether that's volunteer work in organizations in your community. Whatever it is, you really want to show that you are someone who is active member of your community, particularly because you don't have professional experience. So these are areas where they look to draw on when they make decisions on who is in and who is out. They're also looking for individuals who have clear goals and then are able to showcase a theme across the board of their MBA application that illustrates that they're going to be successful in this particular area. And then, of course, that consistency in the interest in the field that they're choosing to go into. So in addition to those categories, they're looking for your marketability. So how are they going to be able to get you to the jobs that you want in the future post-MBA? So they're going to look at your GPA. This is particularly important because they don't have a lot of external data points to evaluate how serious you are in your professional success. So your GPA is an indication of your seriousness with which you take the engagements that you are, or the work that you are responsible for. The GMAT and the GRE, again, another data point that they will be evaluating. And typically for deferred MBA candidates, this is higher than the traditional MBA candidates, just because, again, it's a very competitive pool. They're going to be looking at your extracurriculars, again, for those leadership opportunities, for your commitment, for your contributions, and for your impact. Internships are also an important component. So what internships have you had? What kind of projects were you involved in those internships? And then also, this is different than traditional MBA candidates insofar as a huge 99% of people that are admitted to the deferred MBA program already have secured a offer of employment after their college degree. So when you're applying, you should, most of the people that are admitted do have an offer offer of employment. So if you don't have that at this point with applications, if you're targeting this application cycle with rounds in beginning of April, you want to really making sure that you get that offer in hand so that you can be more likely to succeed in this process. So the application, obviously goals are important. I always talk about goals. This is something that you should be thinking about all the time and that you should be evaluating every single opportunity from that perspective. And your goals are really that guiding principle. You need to have detailed short and long-term goals where you look to go, what kind of impact you're looking to make. And then also you need to have, this is again different from the traditional MBA candidate, insofar as you need to have pre-MBA goals. Now, typically, when you have that job offer, it's in most situations, not every time, but in most situations, you are you're securing a job in a more traditional space, so like consulting or investment banking, but they're looking, in order for you to be able to succeed from there, and to showcase the admission team that you are a deferred candidate, that is what they're looking for, you want to make sure that you take that professional risk pre-MBA, so that you can have a successful transition from there in the career that you're looking to go, so in the impact that you're looking to make, both short-term and long-term. These obviously experiences are important, and given that you don't have many years of work experience, or you don't have years of work experience at all from the perspective of the full-time job, you are going to rely on your extracurriculars and internships to demonstrate that you are a strong candidate. And you want to highlight these experiences in your resume, and particularly focusing on those transferable skills. If you think about what I mentioned earlier from the perspective of showcasing a consistent theme in your goals, that you are really committed to this particular thing, whatever that thing may be. If you're interested in marketing, or you're interested in strategy, whatever the kinds of roles that you're going to look to have, you want to showcase that you have some kind of transferable skills. Obviously, you do not need to have those experiences now because you are in college still, but you do need to show that you have the potential to be successful in that in the future, with the right exposures and the right experiences, of course. Now, your essays, you must highlight your motivations, absolutely, particularly the ones that are goals kind of essays. Of course, the essays are going to be school dependent, so you're going to cater and customize those experiences from the perspective of, or what you write in your essays from the perspective of what questions you're being asked. And you want to choose experiences that speaks to who you are as a character, and how are you going to be contributing to the community in an MBA program. This means your essays need to be detailed. You can't rely on ChatGPT to do this. You have to actually reflect and work through your experiences, showcasing your actions, taking into account, of course, the different experiences that you've had and the outcomes, the impact, etc. And then, of course, you want to really showcase in your essays, particularly, again, goals essays, that you know how you're going to leverage the deferred MBA, you know how you're going to leverage the MBA when you start the program, to make sure that you take your career to the next level, whatever that next level looks like for you. Of course, there's many components to the application. You have the letters of recommendation as well. Those need to be definitely focused on, showcasing this character, and that you have the potential. But one thing that oftentimes applicants forget about entirely is the short answers in the application itself. Sometimes, depending on the school, that can be another essay. As far as content is concerned. So don't neglect those. They are dynamic, which means that the application, based on what you answer in certain areas, new windows with short answer spaces to respond to will show up. So make sure that you do this early on. And of course, even the short answer questions must also speak to the same theme across the board, to really demonstrate that you are a thoughtful future leader, and that you have a consistent story across the board that speaks to someone who matches that individual that business schools are looking for, which is someone who is highly ambitious, someone who wants to take professional risks for the perspective of reaching their long-term goals, being able to be most impactful in their long-term long-term experiences that they're going to have and the long-term impact that they're going to make in their career. So with that, if you are going through the application process and need support, I invite you to reach out. There's a QR code on the screen, or you can just visit our website, cadmissions.com, and connect with us or connect with me to discuss how we can support you through this application process. Whether you're applying this year or next year, definitely happy to have that conversation. If you want to look at how you should be evaluating consultants, we will be having a discussion next week on how you choose a consultant, whether you are applying for the deferred MBA, traditional MBA, what are some of the things that you should be looking for. And I know I'm biased speaker on this. However, I haven't seen some of the successful partnerships and can provide some things that you may not be thinking of, given that most of you are going through this process for the first time, some insights that can be really helpful. So I invite you to register for that event and of course join if you can, but if not, there's always going to be a replay for that event. So I am going to stop sharing screens for the time being and move to questions themselves. Excellent. Perfect. So if you have any questions on any component that I talked about, or just questions in general, please write those questions in the comment of any of the platforms that you are joining, and we will try to answer them live, or we will try to answer them after the live has ended as well. So let's go through the questions that have come in through the registration form. Perfect. How to effectively prepare your references for writing recommendation letters, especially for various programs with distinct requirements. The recommenders are going to be, you're going to choose a recommender who has seen you in action beyond the classroom. So I know sometimes applicants, that particularly college applicants, are going to rely on the professors to write letters of recommendation. The most effective recommendation letter is from a professor that has given you some kind of or that has witnessed you in some kind of extracurricular activity, has been a part of. Perhaps they are an advisor to that club and they have been able to see you in action. So I would say use someone like that as a first choice. Of course, most applicants also have had internships. So a leader in your internship program should also be one of your recommenders. Now, you all have to take into account what your goals are and also what your experiences have been with that particular person who's writing the letter recommendation. So you're going to share with them your goals, and you're going to share with them or remind them of some of the things that they have witnessed in your time together. So whether that's in the internship or in the extracurricular engagements, you can provide your recommenders with some guidance on some of the things that you have done while working with them and how that has made an impact, as well as, of course, allows you to give them ideas on what to speak about in the letter recommendation without necessarily telling them specifically what to write. So you still obviously give them the autonomy to write on different things, but typically they are appreciative of guidance on what you would want to say. And of course, you're going to take into account what your goals are and what are those transferable skills to speak to that specific experiences in mind, so that they showcase transferable skills. If I'm currently finishing up my undergraduate degree with limited work experience, am I still eligible for a deferred program? What specific academic or professional criteria must I meet? Yeah, so you don't need to have any work experience. In fact, if you do have full-time work experience, you are not eligible to apply for the deferred program. However, if you've had part-time, like summer jobs or internships that you've done, and you have had obviously extracurricular activities, you are absolutely eligible to apply for a deferred program. There's no specific academic or professional criteria per se that they're looking for. Business school is general business degree, so they are actually very welcoming of deferring perspectives, deferring experiences, because at the end of the day, you are going to learn just as much from your peers as you are from the professors in the classes. So if you are non-traditional, if you're pursuing something that's not typically seen in business school, that's even better, because you are going to bring so much value to the MBA classroom. So I'd encourage you to look at those particular your experiences that you've had, and also evaluate them from the perspective of, someone in a business school classroom. Why are my experiences important, and how can they learn from my experiences in the context of general business decisions? Once admitted, what strategies should I employ during the deferred period to enhance my profile and MBA readiness? So once you're admitted, I would definitely make sure that you succeed in that post-undergraduate or postgraduate degree, so have successful career there, and also then make sure that you are taking steps to move into that risky period, or that risky job that you're looking to take before you move into the full-time MBA program. Make sure that you leverage your networks, both in your job as well as where you can, depending also on the school that you've been admitted to. The network and alumni at that given school can really be of support in your pre-MBA experience. But during this time, what's really important is to continuously and consistently work on your goals. Make sure that you're evaluating every opportunity from the perspective of, how is this experience going to get me closer to my end goal that I have? Is it valuable? Is it not valuable? What's valuable? What's not valuable? And then, of course, you evaluate based on that, if you say yes or if you say no to those opportunities. That's really important every step of the way in your career, and you can definitely start doing that at this early stage. Excellent. The other thing that I wanted to just mention, until March 1st, we do have a $800 off for the 2024-2025 application cycle for those who sign up for 3 schools with me. So if you are thinking about having that coach for your next year's application cycle, definitely want to take advantage of that early bird. Sign up on our website, caadmissions.com, and you and I can have a conversation specifically about your case and see if we are a good fit. So let's continue. So given my aspirations to pivot into tech entrepreneurship, how can I assess which deferred MBA program aligns best with my career goals? Of course, you're going to look for schools that have that are strong in technology, have entrepreneurship opportunities, and of course have a very strong entrepreneurship alumni group. Obviously, the first school, the pinnacle of any of these the MBA programs as far as tech entrepreneurship is Stanford, but it doesn't only have to be Stanford. And I strongly encourage you to apply to 5 to 6 schools to maximize output. One thing that you can definitely keep in mind, that this is a very competitive application process, and you do want to maximize output. And then when you have multiple offers, then you can make a decision from there as to where you go and which school you accept an offer from. But you don't want to just apply to one. So look for schools, resources that they offer. So if they have a lot of resources on entrepreneurship and technology, absolutely that should be something that you look further into. And then, of course, look at the alumni group where do they go? What kind of jobs are they holding? You want to also be really mindful of the fact that there is some information available online, and a lot of it's not available online. So that means you have to have conversations with students, you have to have conversations with alumni and admission representatives to really understand the breadth of opportunities that the schools offers. But a preliminary search can be just looking at what those entrepreneurial opportunities look like, and then from there further narrow it down by having conversations with these different representatives of a given institution, so that you can really have a robust top 5, top 6 programs to apply to in a way that it's aligned with you, and if you are only admitted to any one of them, you would say yes to. Excellent. So given my background in engineering and looking to transition into a business role, which component of the application should I prioritize to showcase my potential? If you are engineer trained, obviously your work is going to be a lot focused on data and analysis, and that can be important, but business schools actually look for more than just data. So focus on storytelling in your application. Share how your data and analysis has supported a business or an angle of what you were looking for, whether that was a research project or an entrepreneurship activity that you worked on. Look at how your work impacts the business as a whole, and then speak to that. So that you can demonstrate that you have those transferable skills, and showcase, of course, that you have the potential. You're already thinking like a business person, even though you haven't had full-time work experience yet. So when exactly should I start preparing my application to meet the early round of submission, assuming I want to maximize my chances of acceptance? Absolutely. This is a great question. If you are applying this application cycle, well, this is not early. This is actually running on late because applications are due in a month and a half. So you definitely need to be working on these applications now to make sure that you have a successful output. If you are thinking about next year or next years, in a couple of years from now, I would start as early as you can with the standardized tests, so that you get that out of the way and don't really focus on, you have the score that's competitive, and just finish that. When it comes to the application, I would probably say, and of course you have to look at a little bit on your workload. How much work do you have? The more work that you have on your plate, that means the earlier you have to start, because if you don't have 10 hours a week to dedicate to your application, well, that needs to be stretched out over time. So I would say I've worked with clients that have started their application preparation process a year in advance of their submission. Now they're working slowly along the way, but I would say that quite a few people are actually going through that process. And then I would say you are comfortable if you start 6 months, 3 months, you are no longer comfortable. You have to be really rushing through the process, because there's just so much that you have to build, and everything is going to start from scratch. You can't really use your resume that you apply to jobs for your MBA. It has to be written differently. You have to write essay responses. You have to support your recommenders in writing their letters of recommendation. You have an entire application you have to go through, and you times that by however many schools you are applying to. Also recognizing the fact that this is not the common app that you are used to in college. You have to write applications for every single school that you are applying to separately. So that takes a lot of time, and the sooner you start, the better you will be. So with that, we will bring this session to a close. Please reach out if you have any questions that we can help answer. So write those in the comments of wherever you're watching this video as a replay. And if you would like to have a conversation with me about your case and how I can support you in the process of your MBA or deferred MBA application process, I invite you to reach out, schedule a call to speak directly with me. Perfect. So I will see you next week when we'll talk about how you choose an admission coach. Please register for that event. And I'm excited to talk about that component as well.